This tutorial covers the initial part of the general setup screen. So starting from the top, this is where we can register the system. So if you're currently using the trial version and you've purchased JobPro, you can click on register, and you can come in here and enter in your company name, contact name, and the serial number that you've received after purchasing the system, and you click on save. The next option here is relating to previewing and printing throughout the system. So we've got an option to enter heading. Now what that means is that if you go and print a report, for example, any internal type documents, if this is selected, it gives you a dialog box where you can put in a heading for that list or the printed document. So let's just show you that. If we go into companies, click on the list screen, if we click on print, this specify heading dialog box comes up where you can put in a heading of, for example, list of companies, and click continue, and that's the heading that appears. So for example, on reports and lists like this, or various reports and financial reports throughout the system, if you'd like to enter a heading on doing one of these reports, then turn that option on in setup. So let's go back into the setup screen. The next option here is to display the print setup dialog box when printing or previewing throughout the system. Now that just means that when you go to print a document, it gives you the ability to change the print setup for that printing. Usually this is turned off. The next option is to set the paper size to either A4 or US letter. So depending on which paper size you normally print on, you'd enter this setting here. Display tool type area, or the toolbar area. So this means that when you go and preview a document, like an invoice or a report, anything throughout the system, there is the ability to turn on the toolbar area which appears at the top of the preview screen, and that gives you additional options. Display the keyboard shortcuts in the window title. So in the preview window that comes up when you preview a document, this gives you the ability to turn on or turn off the display of the shortcuts. So let's go in, for example, and look at that list of companies again. Click on print. These are the navigation options up here that display using that preference. So we can, for example, if we had a page or a report that had multiple pages on it, we can use the back arrow and the forward arrow to view those different pages. So let's return back into setup. The next option is on printing to show the print dialog box. Usually you'll have this turned on because it gives you the ability to print to different printers or to specify the quantity that you'd like to print. The next option is relating to when closing the preview window, you can either do nothing, which will return you to where you came from, like an invoice screen if you were just printing an invoice, or that when you hit the enter key in the preview window, that actually brings you straight to the print dialog box, the save as PDF dialog box, or the email PDF dialog box. But all these options are available from within the preview window anyway. So usually it's easier to leave it that you're not going to do anything on returning from a preview window, because you've most likely either already printed from that preview window, or you actually don't want to print and just want to return to where you came from. The next option is relating to whether you'd like to preview before you email a transaction. For example, a quote or an invoice or a purchase order or any other financial transactions in the system that you have the ability to email a PDF directly. This option gives you the ability to preview that before it actually sends or creates the email. The next option is related to the system network settings. So whether or not you actually want to share the JobPro system, or if it's a single user license, then this option will be set to single user. But if you, for example, added additional user licenses and you want to share those out, well then you'll turn on the multi-user option here. The next option relates to the document management feature. So in the document management module in JobPro, you have the ability to create duplicates or versioning of a particular document. When you create a new version of a document, it'll increment the version number, and you can specify in here what you'd like to increment that by. For example, 1 or maybe 0.1. We've also got backup options here where you can create a copy of the database or create a clone of the database. Now these options are normally only available when you're using the single user version and are useful for backing up the database. If you're using the multi-user version of this system, well then you'd normally use FileMaker Server to do backups from the server itself. Then the option at the bottom of this screen is for either importing data or exporting data. There are separate video tutorials on both importing and exporting data, so we don't actually need to go through those here. But you will notice that exporting data is done actually from the level of each module. So if we click on this, it'll give us a message saying to export data, go to the relevant module and select export from the records menu. The export option is also available from the preview menu when previewing reports and other documents throughout the system. There are other options on this general setup screen, but they're covered in other tutorials.